Hello. Welcome
Hello.
to the True Conscious Couple podcast. I am Tiffany Lancaster.
And I'm Brad Lancaster. We are a blended family. When we got together, I had 4 kids, Tiffany had 3, and we've had 1 together.
We're also a couple that runs a business together.
And so we talk about those things. We talk about our journey of self-discovery, of self-improvement.
We talk about the struggles of blended families. We talk about the struggles of business. And we talk about the struggles of doing inner work.
And we also talk about the joy, the peace, the love that comes along with all of that.
And what makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, so come along for the ride.
Hope you enjoy.
I'm actually, first of all, I want to congratulate us because we've made it to 21 episodes. Nobody's paid us anything to do this. We've done this out of a commitment to tell our story, to share our journey. And the reason we do that is when I was in jail, I remember telling you, look, if we don't do anything with this, if we just get through it, it's kind of wasted. And we need to be able to tell our story to help others, because others' stories helped us so much. And others' examples helped us so much. And so we wanted to be able to be an example to help other people that were going through tough times.
Yeah.
And, or just going through struggles. Maybe maybe you've got one part of your life figured out, but you're struggling with another part. And we know that relationship specifically is so often like one of the big.
Relationships are hard.
Especially intimate relationships.
Yeah.
All relationships can have a level of challenge and struggle to them. And at least I figured out that the number one relationship for me to master so that I can show up as the best partner for you is my relationship with myself. The way I'm able to look at myself in the mirror and how I feel about that person looking back at me. And so that kind of brings us up to for me anyways, brings me to the topic that we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of talk about how we got there?
Yeah. So this is going to be a really vulnerable episode. But I think it's a really important topic because, again, like you were just saying, like, I can't be the only one dealing with it. There's other people, and we can't get through these sort of things by keeping quiet about it. It requires this vulnerability that we talk about, these things that we're dealing with, so that other people realize that, they're not the only one dealing with it. And it just helps so many people. So when Brad challenged me, I actually came to Brad last night because we're experiencing so much growth in all areas of our life, really. And we're challenging ourselves like daily, I feel like, to grow in so many ways. And so when you're really pushing yourself hard, all of these insecurities start popping up. And it's insecurities that I guess I kind of had an idea that they were there. But recently, this last week specifically, I, started being a lot more aware of the negative thought patterns that I was dealing with. And this last week, I was just noticing so much negative thinking, so much like self-criticism, and a lot of it was around body image and just image in general. I started
physical image.
Yeah. Physical image. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I turned 40 this year. I'm getting older, and I've always taken pretty good care of my body.
You have an amazing body. You have a beautiful body.
Yeah, but I mean, we can control aging. We can control an aspect of aging, but there's a lot of it that we just don't have a whole lot of control over. And I just started noticing how critical I was being when I was looking in the mirror, full body and, just the mirror. Like, wow, I'm looking older. And I'm not getting any gray hairs yet, but I'm noticing like, the fine lines and
Well,
so
I've been noticing you be more critical of yourself when I post pictures
yeah,
and videos.
yeah,
I've noticed that you've been like really criticizing yourself,
yeah.
calling yourself like you've called yourself fat.
And it's so funny for me because normally that's been the other way around. I'm
Right.
coaching you and saying like, why are you talking about yourself that way? And you
Right.
literally the other day in the car repeated something that I've said to you so many times, and it was really interesting to me.
What was it that I said?
You said, "Why are you talking to yourself that way?
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't let anyone else talk to you that way." And basically, and you said, "This is the advice my wife gave me. Are you saying that she's not wise?" And I was
Yeah,
just like,
because
"Oh
our
wow,
words
okay,
matter so much.
yeah,
Like they're the ultimate power that we have. Um, and I was just reminded in the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz says our words are like spells, and once they're out, we can't take them back.
Well, I was just having this conversation with Taylin earlier about the power of words and that words are spells because if everything is energy and words have energy, what kind of energy do they carry? And there's that science experiment where you take the 2 jars of rice. It happens on a molecular level with water as well. If you put 2 jars of, get 2 jars, fill them both with rice, write the word love on one and write the word hate on the other. And then every day the experiment is you go for 60 days, I think it is, maybe 90, and you say loving words to the one that says love, and you say hateful words to the one that says hate. And you make sure that you do that every single day for 60 or 90 days. And the one that has the positive affirmations and the positive words written on it looks like it did the day you put it in the jar. But the one that you have the negative word on and said the negative affirmations to rots.
Yeah.
And in the same amount of time. So words really are powerful.
Yeah.
And I saw this TikTok actually. This TikTok was the first thing that like sparked something in me that I was like, oh wow, this is a thing. So the TikTok was this woman talking and she was like, why are Utah girls so much more pretty than other girls in the United States? She's like, this is not just a thing. This is, this is like a well-known, like Utah's known for pretty girls. And she goes on to say the reason why Utah girls are so much more pretty than other girls in other states is because basically they're not lazy. They're willing to do all the things. They get their nails done. They wear their, hair. They get their eyelashes done. They do the tanning thing, the spray tanning or, whatever. And they really
Cosmetic surgery.
cosmetic
We're like one
surgery,
of the
breast
cosmetic
implants.
surgery. Yeah.
And
this
that
isn't
just got
meant
me
to be
thinking,
judgment. Like we're
no,
not.
because I do think that for women, it is a form of expression to do. I'm not saying that I love to do myself up. I do. It's an expression of the way that I'm feeling, or it's a way of expressing yourself. For me recently, I've gotten a lot more in touch with just not feeling like I should have to do myself up, that it's just not me every day. For special occasions, sure. But me personally, putting all this work into being something that I'm not has felt like very inauthentic to me. And I think what sparked that was really when I went on the 2-week yoga retreat to Costa Rica. I went on this 2-week yoga retreat. And it was just such a beautiful experience because it was a bunch of women there, really just embracing inner beauty, just embracing who they are. Most of the women didn't wear any makeup the entire time. They didn't even wear bras. They were just it was all about, loving their body exactly as it was. And just, there was so much vulnerability and it was just such a beautiful thing to just see a bunch of women who were beautiful, but they weren't beautiful because they were doing all of the things to be beautiful. They were beautiful because they were showing up exactly who they were, as exactly who they were. And it was so inspiring to me that I actually came home and removed my breast implants after that, because I felt like, number one, there's a lot of evidence these days that that shows how toxic breast implants are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already been looking into that, but I just thought it was so beautiful that those women could embrace themselves, and they were all in great shape. It didn't, it's not like they weren't taking care of themselves, but they were loving their body, in my opinion, the way that we should love our body and we should love ourselves. And so it was super inspiring to me. However, in everyday life, and I think especially here in Utah, there is an immense amount of pressure to show up in a certain way and look a certain way and have to have your makeup on and have to have your hair done and have to have your nails done. And if you don't, it's easy to feel extensions, all of it. It's easy to feel less than. And I've been dealing with it. I think it's because I've kind of shifted the crowd that I'm hanging out with a little bit. Movers and shakers and drivers and, those women, especially high achievers, there is a lot of pressure on them to look good. So it's been revealing its ugly head to me a lot recently that, I've been feeling not enough. I'm not doing enough. Am I being lazy? When was the last time I got my nails done? And I'm not putting my hair extensions in every day. And I'm not doing all these things that, to be quite honest, I don't even believe they're healthy. Like, I think wearing heavy extensions in your hair is not good for your hair. Putting makeup on your face every day, I know is not good for your face. Like, all of the things we do just on a biological level are not good for you. There's so many toxins and all that shit that people put on themselves, And so it's funny because my journey has just been interesting, to go from, because back in the day in my 20s, I was all about it. I was doing the spray tanning. I think I was one of the first people because I have lighter skin. And so like I remember doing spray tans like early.
You were the first person I ever met that owned her own spray tanning system.
And I did my lashes, and when we met, I had my nails done all the time.
All the time.
And then I approached this part on my path where I was just like, I don't need any of this. This is not who I am. Like I'm fine without any of it. And so I kind of went down this road of finding myself without any of that stuff. And I think a lot of that had to do with the yogic path that I was on. And now I feel like I'm trying to find this balance between that world and the reality that we live in,
Mm-hmm. Well, what's so something that just came to me when you said should, like this, I shouldn't have to do all this stuff. And which is, you're right, you shouldn't have to, and you shouldn't not have to.
Right.
Right. So this idea of duality,
right,
or non-duality, right? That there's nothing wrong with wanting to wear makeup and putting the hair extensions in, and I'm from a husband perspective, I love it because I see different versions of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen you made up with lashes, hair extension, makeup, all of that stuff. And I've seen you also stripped of all that working in our yard, or hiking in the mountains with me. And I love all versions, and I find them all beautiful, and have been turned on by every version of that, of you that shows up. So as you're saying that, I'm realizing this idea of duality and of non-duality, right? That we're a part of a whole.
Yeah.
And and the so is anybody really not enough? No. Everybody is enough. Every version of yourself is enough. The one that gets made up and the one that doesn't, that puts absolutely no makeup on, pulls her hair back into a ponytail, wears a t-shirt with no bra and sweatpants.
Yeah.
Is she enough?
Absolutely.
And so if they're all enough, you're enough.
Well, I just think that like anything else, the answer is always yes and yes. I absolutely find the beauty and the pleasure in getting my nails done and getting all done up. And I love to do, like I said, I still love to do all of those things. I think it can be unhealthy for us women to feel like we can't be seen without those things. Or if it makes you feel worse when you don't have any of those things on, like you have to, the only way you can show up is with this mask because you can't be seen without it. And I think it's such a prevalent thing, especially, like I said, especially in Utah. There is so much pressure. And what I tell other women that we give the best advice sometimes, but it's like we were talking about earlier, it's hard to be able to give yourself the same advice. Right?
Yeah.
But like women, we're beautiful with or without it. Like we don't need all of those things to be beautiful. There is something so beautiful, I think, about a woman that just shows up in all of her rawness, and all of her just natural beauty and who she is. And I think it comes from the inside out, I think it's just so important for every woman to be able to have that and embrace that, to be able to say like, no, this is me. I am woman, hear me roar type thing. Like, I don't need all of that stuff to be beautiful. I can be confident and just as I am, and I can be beautiful without any of those things. And I think that, whatever it is that we need to find within ourselves to be able to own that, I think that's a really important thing to have.
Well, so a lot of times we see behavior as humans, we behave in a way to compensate, to either cope with or hide a wound or trauma, right? So I guess to start this, if we're going to examine this from a theme of consciousness standpoint, where's the trauma in this, especially for the feminine? And it's not just in Utah. I mean, we see it all over the place.
No, but for some reason it is more prevalent here. I don't know exactly what it is.
So what's the trauma? How does this come up?
Well, I think it starts in, man, I think there's so much pressure on girls, young girls.
Yeah, we're seeing it with our little girl,
right? And it's not, I think from the second you go to school, like, I can remember, I can remember I bet I was like 10 the first time someone said something to me about not shaving my legs. Like something was wrong with me.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it starts young, and I'd have to imagine that it starts even younger now with social media and, the need to start wearing makeup. Like girls start wearing makeup these days when they're about 10 or 11 years old. Taylin did. All of her friends did.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, right out the gate.
And it's not that makeup's bad.
No, but it can be a form. It can be unhealthy. It can be a form of masking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm only beautiful with these things, And I think we start seeing it really young in girls that they can't go anywhere or do anything without their makeup on, And I just think that we can encourage girls to not have to feel that way.
Okay, so it shows up from society.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed I can only speak for myself. I've been guilty of it, but men, we can contribute to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The masculine contributes by judging women.
Yes.
Whether it's our sisters, our spouses, our girlfriends, um, and
Well, women definitely get a lot more attention from men when they're done up,
oh, for sure, yeah,
Like men like it.
yeah. In fact, I mean, makeup. I think I remember seeing somewhere like the origins of makeup. It was part of. It was originally designed as part of a mating, like to aid in the mating rituals of early hunter-gatherer tribes. And then has progressed that way, and it's still used that way.
And men used to wear makeup.
Right. Yeah. So it's still used as a way for, I guess, to put a different face on, to put something that's.
Well, I think like when I've really taken a deep dive, because there's been a lot of introspection for me, just like in my own, silence. I do feel like there is a healthy sense of expression because it is fun. There is something about our daughter does makeup on Instagram and she
yeah,
loves it.
And has a blast with it, right?
Yeah. And she's honestly like inspired me to, want to get better at doing my makeup. And I think there is a healthy, like, it's almost like art. It's like art,
Yeah.
Um,
and we can't say it too much. One person's medicine can be another person's poison. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything else. When you start to notice the negative, like I'm saying, for me, I've started noticing like thoughts about myself, like, oh, I look terrible without makeup. I should not have pictures done when I don't have makeup on. I should not like be seen without makeup on. Like when you start seeing those thoughts, and our daughter, by the way, I think she does it in such a healthy way because she will show up on Instagram raw, like with zero makeup on. She actually does her makeup on Instagram, but she'll show up with all of her blemishes and all of her, imperfections and be seen that way. And then show what she's able to do with makeup, which I do think I think it's cool because she's showing herself both ways,
Yeah. So the trauma comes from society, other girls, comes from boys and the masculine.
Yeah.
And
girls bully each other in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the traumas. And so if you've ever experienced any of those traumas or traumas like that are related to this, it's okay to just identify it. And this is how self-healing happens. And this is what you experienced. And by the way, that's like the whole point of doing the inner work. It's so you don't have to go to a therapist. I mean, you can, that's fine. But you can sort all this out yourself, knowing a few processes.
Yeah.
So number one, knowing the trauma, and then knowing, okay, so the next thing you did, like with me last night, is then say, these are the limiting beliefs that I've been buying into.
Yeah. And I do have to give you some credit because you are so amazing. I'm so grateful for you because you provide a safe place for me to get really vulnerable about something like that. Number one. And number two, like you've never ever made me feel like I'm not beautiful. You tell me multiple times a day how beautiful I am. And me with my messed up, limiting beliefs from time to time, or when I'm really feeling, down because of these things, like I'll literally hear myself say after you give me a compliment, oh, of course he's going to say that. He has to say that, like, or of course, he thinks I'm beautiful because he's, I'm his wife. Like he has to think that. And it's just funny. Like I noticed what made me say, okay, I have to talk about this. It was after yesterday when you gave me a compliment in the kitchen and I literally saw myself have that thought like, oh, he's just saying that. He doesn't really believe that. And I was like, wow, like, what am I doing? And so I thought, okay, I've got to tell Brad, and it's going to be a weird, uncomfortable thing to have to tell him this, you know? And when I did, you were just so amazing. You were just, you reacted so perfectly. Uh, and so I just want to say thank you for that. I really am so, so lucky. I have such an amazing husband.
Well, that's very kind of you. And it's normally me coming to you with like these limiting stories and themes of consciousness that are kind of out of whack, and diving into lower themes of consciousness, limiting beliefs. And so I was just, and am so grateful when I can be there for you and hold space for you. And I think I've learned a lot over the last year about how to be there for you. Because the number one thing I think anybody going through this, dealing with these, because there's self-esteem issues, and the first thing to understand is it's okay. Like, think of everything and how many times you've been told that you're not enough. Think of how many different ways people have told you, that the world has told you, that random strangers have even told you, or in one way or another, that you're not enough.
Yeah.
It's happened a lot.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. And anybody who would have been told what you were told would feel the same way. Even as a 40-year-old, beautiful yoga practitioner, a yogi who is strong, flexible, an amazing mom, an amazing business person, they would still be dealing with those same things. Anybody who would have heard everything you've heard would feel the same way. So of course you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any of it right or wrong. Just, it's exactly where you've been.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, because while I consider myself a highly evolved man, I haven't always been. And I've been on this evolutionary process, and I can still get very base. I can still get very judgmental. We talked about my inclination to judgment. I do have to say, where you're concerned, I just love you so much. And when I see you, and if for men, if you're having trouble, like if you're allowing what the world tells you should be beautiful to impact how you're seeing your partner, fuck that. And see your partner for who she is. Like, focus on that. You know who she is. She's the mother of your children. She's the one who like lets you cry on her shoulder. She's the one who loves you unconditionally. She's the one who's got your back. And so, quite frankly, I don't care if you show up with makeup or not. I love it when you do. I love it when you don't. I love all the variations of it, because you are literally my ride or die. You're the person who stood by me during my lowest times. And love is not it's not a noun. It's a verb.
Yeah.
And love is something you do for somebody. And when somebody is feeling low, you love them. And you love them, and you look into their eyes, and you see all the beauty that's within them. And just focus on that. Like, because what you think, the girl on Instagram, the Instagram model, you think she's going to love you the way that person that you're with does? No way. No way. Not with all your flaws, mister.
Well, I just think that confidence, there's so much, confidence is such an important emotion to have, to feel. You know, I notice all the different places that when I'm lacking confidence, where it shows up, you know, and I don't want my confidence to depend on how much makeup or hair or nails I have on that day. Like, it's a false sense, you know? yeah, it can add to, it can help, but it
Sure.
needs to be something much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And I notice, there's really nothing that it doesn't affect when I'm not feeling confident. But one of the biggest areas that I notice it affects is our sex life. Like if I'm not feeling
Mm.
confident, our sex life suffers, and our sex life is really important to me. I think it should be important to everyone in a relationship because so much rides on that, you know. And women,
No, we didn't talk about this last night. I love this.
no, but we as women are powerful when it comes to sacred sex and the power that we have in the bedroom, um and so it's to be able to just show up in that area with that much power, in your full power. It's just such an important, such a powerful thing, you know?
Wow. Yeah, now that you mention it, I can actually connect some dots
Hmm.
from backwards and say, "Oh yeah, I was feeling something different from Tiff, and it did show up that way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense." And so, um, so that's one of the processes of doing the inner work is figuring out what the triggers are, how the triggers show up. So how does that? How have you found yourself getting triggered by this? Like,
Comparison.
mm,
Comparison to other powerful women, other successful women. Like I said, I've been putting myself in really powerful rooms with other women. And it's been difficult to not look at them and be like, oh, they're they're they weigh less than I do. They have less body fat percentage than I do. They have less wrinkles than I do. They have more hair than I do. Their makeup looks way better than mine. Maybe I should wear false lashes. Like, and I don't even know where it's coming from. It's just there. Yeah.
so it gets triggered that way.
Yeah.
It
And well,
when
and I
when do you
think
when do you remember? Do you remember like being triggered by that before? Because now we're making this move in our business. Do you
well,
remember?
that's what I think. What I was gonna say is I think turning 40 has definitely played a role. When I turned 30, it didn't really, I wasn't really phased by 30, but 40, 40 is, 40 is getting up there.
For some reason,
And
in your mind, 40 is old.
yeah, and 40 is when your hormones start to change, and 40 is
Mhm.
when your metabolism slows down, and 40 is the scary number, for women, I think. Because everything changes, and all of a sudden you have to work harder if you want to keep your body looking good. And then what do you need to, well, like, what are you going to do about the wrinkles? You know? So, yeah. And the funny thing is, what I think it really boils down to, because for me, I do have a testimony that word may be triggering for some people, but I have a testimony to yoga and what yoga can do for people. Like, not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. That's what's so amazing about yoga. When you have a really good yoga practice, it really takes care of all the different bodies, the energetic body, the spiritual body, all of it. And I've seen for myself and witnessed like people who dedicate themselves to a consistent yoga practice, like they really look good and they feel good. And it just it changes them, changes like their being. Like I've seen that. Of course, what you put in your body matters as well. And so I think really what it's come down to is I feel like I'm out of balance right now with um, we've been really pushing, making big changes in our business and kind of pushing um, the business area of our life that I have let my yoga practice slip. Ironically, I mean, I'm doing another yoga teacher training right now, and I'm doing yoga, but my practice is not as consistent as it's been in other times of my life.
Mm.
And so I think that ultimately that's where it's coming from.
So a couple things. So you feel like you could exercise a little more discipline.
Yeah.
And isn't that amazing how often like discipline and confidence go together?
Yes, absolutely.
We know that equation, right? If you want to increase, if you're looking to make a change, you're going to have to discipline some new habits, and with that discipline comes confidence. It just builds. It's this cycle, and so that confidence leads you to more belief, more self-confidence, and that changes your thoughts, and so you create this new action loop where now you're doing this performance, this discipline. You're performing that thing over and over and over again, which then increases, gives you better results, which makes you have better thoughts, and that just keeps spiraling in a positive way.
Yeah.
And yoga, the other powerful thing that I've noticed about yoga, and I'm right with you, excuse me, and you know that my own practice is, hasn't been where I've wanted it to be. But even saying that, like, I do have a practice. It doesn't look exactly like what I want it to be right now from my yoga or my resistance training, because I like to lift as well. And both of those I've been off lately. And I can't really, I think I know why, but it doesn't really matter. Like, it just hasn't been where I've wanted it. And so my confidence starts to wane
Yeah.
as that discipline is there. And so, and then what's interesting about it is when my confidence is low, then I find myself getting triggered so much easier
Yeah.
into lower themes of consciousness. And so it's that what I find myself asking myself so often is, okay, so does it start with actions? Does it start with thoughts? Does it start with beliefs? I don't know what the answer is to that. I go back and forth on it so many times, but I think you can act your way into right thoughts.
Yeah.
You can start taking action, and it will impact your thoughts. That action can just be sitting with it and figuring out, okay, where am I really stuck? Where am I really feeling this?
Yeah.
And that's something that you've taken time to do, especially with this. So part of it seems like the final piece of the inner work, if I've missed anything, I apologize, but it seems like, so what's the new narrative? What's the new belief that you want to construct? What's the new language you want to use going forward when you see this trigger come up that says you're not pretty enough, you don't look good enough, you need makeup on to be pretty enough, you need to have your hair done to be pretty enough or to feel right? What's the new narrative that you want to craft going forward?
Well, I would be just the opposite of that, I am enough. I am beautiful. Like, it's not just about looks. There is a lot of weight put in our looks.
I'm powerful
in society. Yeah. But, I am powerful, and I'm
as I am.
much more than just what I look like.
I am more than a made up face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of the most critical steps, and it's something that I'm just now understanding. Is that, okay, I've exposed this trauma. I now know, I can now even look at the trauma and say, I see how it happened. I see where it happened the first time, and I've seen multiple times throughout my life where it's been reinforced, and I know how it gets triggered.
It tends to be this like cycle, right? Because if you would have asked me a few months ago, I would have said, I dealt with that. I healed that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I dealt with a long time ago, but I'm fine now. Like, I don't have that insecurity. And that's the funny thing about these samskaras that we talk about, is they cycle. They show up in different ways, different times, and different, the universe likes to bring it back around and say, there's still some of this left to be healed. And so, while some people think, you reach this point where you're completely healed, it's not necessarily the truth. The healing is never done. You're always healing it in different ways.
There's a reason why addicts who are working on healing always refer them to themselves as addicts,
Mm-hmm.
because they've recognized that the work is never done.
Yeah.
Because there will always be triggers out there. The universe will always find a way to test us, to say,
Yeah.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Have you really healed this?
With that being said, though, I think there does come a point. I mean, you find different things to heal,
Yes.
but there does come a point where you've ascended past a certain thing. So I don't want to make it sound like it's not possible. It's not hopeless that you
You're
never...
right. But yeah, yes, you can certainly. And there is going to be a lot of work involved in
You
it.
can't be attached to this idea that it's going to be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our linear thinking that there's this point in the timeline where I can spot and say, okay, that's when I no longer had a problem with drugs. That's when I no longer had a problem with my self-esteem. That's when I no longer had a problem with cheating, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the wound is. Because the chances are it will come up, and you can show the universe, oh, I've healed that. Oh, I felt that, but I've healed that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But your samskara, your wounds, the traumas are still, they're still there.
Yeah.
So I think writing a new narrative and then spending time, Ash, our teacher, calls it the protocol.
Yeah.
The protocol to heal this trauma.
Well, the funny thing is, I've actually been thinking, because during my 2-week yoga retreat in Costa Rica, the whole point, it was the psychology of chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point was to come up with a protocol to be able to kind of diagnose what people's samskara was, using the philosophy of the chakras. And the irony is, this is what came up for me then. And this is the protocol. There was a protocol that was given to me then. And it's so funny that...
What was that protocol? I remember you telling me. I don't remember what it was.
So she talked about so I was born on a Thursday. She said, every Thursday you should go up to the yoga studio. And even if you don't feel like doing yoga, you don't have to do yoga. She said, but I feel like you need to have on your altar, you need to put a powerful woman that's powerful, not because of her looks, not because of anything else, just because she's a powerful woman, and put a picture of a powerful woman that you admire on your altar, and create a ritual for yourself, just self-love ritual on Thursdays. That's like Tiffany time. There were a couple of other things on there, but I loved it. And I did do it for a while. I got the Kuan Yin.
Mm-hmm.
That she's on my altar. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've noticed. She was like compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought she's a powerful woman, but I've thought about Anna Forrest would be a cool one to put on there. Anyway, it was...
I think that's part of a protocol we should add, because one of the things we were talking about with Ash last week in our training was about building our altar, and having our role models, our gurus, there for us to remember, not as somebody to worship, but as somebody to look up to, and to remind us what they stood for and what they stand for with us. For me, Jesus stands for perseverance and for love, like true compassionate love.
Compassion.
Buddha represents enlightenment, and there are other sages throughout time that represent different things for us. And so, I think that's a great thing. I think we should do that. Finish that altar.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been great.
Yeah. It has. Thank you, honey, for being such a loving, supportive, amazing husband.
Well, it shocked me to hear you say that you were thinking you weren't beautiful enough, or you were dealing with those self-confidence issues. And so one of the things you've shown me is like, you've shown me in so many perfect, loving ways that it's okay for me to not be okay.
Yeah.
And you've held space for me, and you've let me cry, and you've let me share my weaknesses and my the limiting thoughts. And I was just glad that I could
Yeah.
be there for you.
Well, I want to say to all of you women out there, if you don't have someone safe that you feel like you can talk to about this, um, I'm always available, because I do think it is important to have someone to talk to. Like, we don't talk about it. And us as women, I even saw myself having the thought, like, I just need to deal with this on my own. This isn't something that I go and burden somebody else with. Like, I figure this out, you know?
Yeah.
And, but the more, I mean, even though it had maybe been a couple of weeks that I really started, I mean, they were there, but it was more and more prevalent the last couple of weeks for some reason. I don't even know why. But I feel so much better just being able to bring it to the light. And a lot of times that's all it takes. And sometimes it can be so hard. It can feel so daunting that, like, oh my gosh, I've got to talk about how I'm dealing with self-confidence issues. How weak is that, you know? But everybody deals with something on some level, and you don't have to do it alone. It's really imperative that you don't, actually. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you for trusting me.
yeah.
This has been a beautiful week for us.
Yeah, it has.
And like just punctuated by this beautiful sharing. And think about this. Our kids will have this forever.
Yeah. It's true.
That'll be
It's
good.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you got something out of this, Tiff just made an offering. I reach out to her. She's available. You can reach us through our Instagram. You can message us on YouTube. You can message us on Facebook. You can, wherever you can find us. Like, she's a real estate agent, and she's not hard to find. And if you're a woman dealing with those things, like, reach out. And the other thing I'll say is, maybe we'll talk about this next time. It's there's another side of the coin for men where this is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows up in different ways, the confidence beaters, where you can get beat down. And so, men, I want you to know that, like, we deal with self-confidence issues too. And
maybe we'll talk about that next week.
And we'll talk about that, especially where I'm concerned, where or maybe we'll bring on a guest. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. Thank you guys so much. Like and share, and please comment. We'd love to hear your comments.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a great week.